Hello, hello, are you there? Elaine? How are you?
Wow, that's really good.
Oh, I know, isn't it though? How you doing?
I'm good. I was making my podcasting tea.
Oh, your podcasting tea?
Yeah.
Very
I always
nice.
have tea when I'm podcasting.
I love that. I should do the same, especially since I'm doing dryuary.
Oh, yeah. How's that going?
Oh, good. Ling is here. Joann Lee. Her real name is
Okay.
Ling. That's why I said Ling.
Is it really?
It is.
Oh.
You see, she goes by Joann, but her birth name is Ling.
Oh. Why does she go by Joann?
I don't know. I don't know. Why does she go by Joann?
Maybe she can answer that question.
I don't know. Maybe she could.
It's just a mystery, Megan, that now you're gonna have to figure out.
Well, hello, Lee.
Unsolved mystery.
AKA Joann. Welcome back to the podcast. You guys both look wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank
I'm
you.
kind of annoyed, though, that you only want to do one case tonight. I'm kidding. I'm not annoyed. I get it. You have lives and everything, so. First things first, I'm going to ask you guys how you're doing, and then I'm going to bring up just a quick palate warmer for the episode, real quick, and then we'll dive right in. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Jesus, you guys, we don't have that much time. You don't have to talk my ears off. So, I'm going to get to the point. All right. I would like to bring...
How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good, yes. It's a new year, new month, same me. But you know what? We're always growing and we're improving. Isn't that right?
I love it. Yes, exactly.
Okay, situation that happened to me tonight, quick opinions. I was at an establishment where there's counter service.
Okay.
I won't say the restaurant, even though I already tweeted it. But I was picking up dinner, and there was this new employee that was being trained, and he had gloves on, and he's standing there waiting to do something, and with his gloved hand, he goes to the back of his head like this, and he's just like scratching it like this.
Oh, how much hair does he have?
Not really a lot. It was cut short.
Okay.
But he proceeded to then make my food and touched the piece of food that will identify the place. It was Chipotle.
Oh, Lord.
And he made my burrito. Wes got a burrito bowl, so everything that he got was scooped in. But he was handling my burrito. And it made me really uncomfortable, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be accused of being a Karen or I didn't want a confrontation, and I didn't know in the moment if I was overreacting, so I just let him make it.
Oh, God.
But then I got really distracted, and I ended up putting the toppings that Wes likes on mine, and then it was all messed up. I got it home. I put it in the microwave for 30 seconds to kill anything that might be in there. And then it tasted like...
No.
Because of not fully... because it dampened my appetite a little bit, but I think the toppings that I put on there, I just didn't like it. Anyway, what would you guys have done in that situation? Would you have not said anything? I was thinking about faking a phone call and not even ordering and just going somewhere else. So,
I mean,
that's my palate. That's my warm up to tonight's episode, which has nothing to do with the case.
Yeah. Seems totally unrelated to the case. But I'm definitely uncomfortable with that. I think me personally, I would have been caught off guard, and I don't know that I would have addressed it, but maybe I wonder if you could contact customer service now and just say, I was at this location, this is what happened. just so that it is addressed. And I don't know if they would, give you a free burrito or anything, or at least maybe it would come back to the employee and just say, heads up, you're wearing gloves for a reason.
Right. Right. It's kind of like, does Chipotle need to retrain their employees?
Yeah.
That's gross.
Thank you. So I'm not overreacting.
No.
I've been to a few places where I watched them handle my cash money with gloved hands. And I'm like, are you changing these gloves? Because money is one of the dirtiest things in the world. So
right. Anyway, so I did mention Chipotle in my tweet. And they're on Twitter and they usually respond to things like that. So
what did your tweet say?
It said that I faced a dilemma.
Okay.
This is what happened. Basically what I just told you guys. Mm-hmm. I was like, am I overreacting here? And so, yeah, that's what I did.
I'm curious if they respond. You'll have to let us know.
My guess is they're probably going to respond something like, oh, no, we'd love to hear more about this. Please send us a message with the store location and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
So, anyway, thanks for weighing in on that really important crime-related issue. All right, should we dive into this so you guys can get back to your lives?
Yes, let's jump in. I'm excited. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So just a brief recap. We're discussing the case of the Watcher, which happened to the Broaddus family in Westfield, New Jersey in 2014. There has been a Netflix series that is based on this case, but it is a real case. The Broadduses were preparing to move into this home, which is around $1 million, I think. It's a really nice house. And before they even moved in officially, they started getting these anonymous letters. Again, encourage you to listen to the first part of this episode. They will be released in parts so you can get up to speed on the case. They had a few people in mind that they thought it might be. They looked at the Langfords, who were neighbors of them. If you recall, they had a son who was, I think his name was Michael. He was kind of an odd guy who walked around the neighborhood and poked his head in. And so there was them. There was that other couple that were nearby that they literally had lawn chairs facing the house. And then we had talked about how, if I was sitting in a yard, I wouldn't want to face my own house either. I would want to face outside.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is very true. But it's also kind of like, do they not have a backyard? That's what is weird about it, I think. But also it could be I just don't know what that whole area looks like. Mm-hmm. I don't know how accurate what Netflix had showed, how accurate that is with real what happened.
Well, the way they describe it also with the real story is it wasn't in their yard. It was in their yard, but it was on the property line facing the, which is a bit different.
Shared backyards. They share backyards, they backed up to each other.
That's what I'm thinking, if I'm understanding it correctly. Yeah. So anyway, that's a brief recap. Did I cover mostly everything? I mean, they got the police involved, obviously. They're working with this guy, Baron Chambliss, who's a veteran detective from the Westfield police. The Watcher, they had come to think that maybe it was an older person based on some of the language they were using in their letters. And basically, it sounds like this person's kind of ticked off that they're doing renovations and changing the house and things like that. So, I think that's kind of where we left off, was just talking about how this was affecting them. They were kind of looking at every person with a side eye, wondering if they could be the person. who did this. So they're pretty confident, the police, that the person isn't within the neighborhood, obviously, because if you remember from the last episode, the watcher mentioned one of the daughters by, I forget if it was by, yeah, they knew the names eventually, but they mentioned that one of the daughters was on the porch painting on an easel. So they had to have been at least close enough for this person to see, whether that was from a house or from somebody literally just sneaking around the property. It could be either, I guess, but so somehow this story got picked up by the news, and the Broadduses had over 300 requests from the media to talk about this.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Which they ended up turning down because they said they didn't want to put their kids through anything more, which I can't blame them for that, because people in the neighborhood were starting to find out about this. There was a lot of rumors that were circulating, and kids that went to school with these kids were starting to say stuff. And so I respect their decision not to talk to the news about it, but still the news picked it up, and the internet was rife with speculation. Some people said, oh, you guys should use some sonar equipment or something to see what's, quote, in the walls, because the watcher had mentioned, like, have you found what's in the walls yet? Which would have scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were just really on edge about this whole thing.
So in the show, in the dramatized version, the neighbor son had come into the house, and he was hiding in the dumbwaiter, and he said he liked to play in the dumbwaiter.
Yeah.
In your reading, do you know, did that really happen? I don't believe so. I think the extent of what he did is he would. So what this article says from The Cut, right? This is the really good article that covered this case. Okay. They said he'd been diagnosed with schizophrenia as a young person, and, quote, he sometimes spooked the neighbors, or he sometimes spooked newcomers to the neighborhood when he did strange things, like walk through their backyard or peek into the windows of homes that were being renovated. But those who knew him told me, the reporter, that the odd things he did were mostly just unusual neighborly kindnesses. And then John Schmidt, who also lived in the neighborhood, said he goes out and gets newspapers for me every morning. And then other people said that, I mean, the people that had known this guy for a long time said they didn't think he was capable of writing the letters. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good to know. And like when I was watching the show, which by the way, I still haven't finished, but
that's all good.
I didn't think that it was him. Like I just didn't. I don't know why, but it just didn't really seem like he would be like that. I know that he has access into the house, but just the way that I don't know whether he was portrayed or the kind of character that he was playing, and, if that was accurate with like the real Michael, then yeah, it just doesn't seem like he's got like an evil bone in him,
Yeah, or like he lacks the intellect or something. Not saying that people, with schizophrenia aren't intelligent or something, but he just seems to lack a certain something to me too. I don't get the vibe that it's him either.
Yeah.
No. I get the impression that he's pretty harmless and pretty innocent in this whole thing. Just kind of an odd duck.
Yeah. We've all known people like that in our lives where, they're harmless, but they're just either socially unaware or just awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, so the detectives, they keep looking into this, and there was something that really surprised them. They were analyzing the envelopes for DNA, and they determined that the DNA found on the watcher envelopes belonged to a woman.
What?
Oh.
This doesn't make, before I move on, like, first of all, if these letters were sent through the mail, couldn't they have been handled by a lot of people?
That's what I was wondering too. Like,
yes,
but okay, so I don't know how accurate this is, Netflix from real, but in Netflix, in Netflix, the envelopes doesn't show that it's been stamped.
Oh, well, no, because this article that I'm reading says that the letters were postmarked in New Jersey.
Oh.
Which makes sense because this person has to be at least spending some of their time in New Jersey.
Right.
If they, if they're there to watch the house and know enough that the daughter's painting.
Right.
Or whatever. Yeah. So this quote from the article says, by the end of 2014, the investigation had stalled. The watcher had left no digital trail, no fingerprints, and no way to place someone at the scene of a crime that could have been hatched from pretty much any mailbox in northern New Jersey. So, yeah. Anyway, what about, so the DNA, if I just thought of something, did they lick the envelope?
Right.
But you would think if
maybe
they're
that's what they're talking about. Yeah.
But if they're smart and they want these to be anonymous, wouldn't you think maybe I shouldn't lick this?
Right. Like that's what is confusing to me, because it's like, why would someone who is that careful just leave their DNA on the envelope?
Exactly.
Like that part doesn't make sense to me. Like when they say that, the DNA that they found was, from a woman, like to me, it's like, well, could it be the male person?
Right.
Standing, I just don't, I don't know.
Right.
That's kind of like what I feel like is missing.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right that, and I think enough people would handle mail going through the postal service that I don't think that's reliable enough.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they checked the area where the envelope would have been licked, someone could be touching that area too. It's close enough. I don't know that that's really reliable.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but nevertheless, they decided to look more closely at Abby Langford, who was Michael's sister.
Oh.
Okay.
It turned out that Abby Langford worked as a real estate agent. So they thought, God, was this woman mad?
Yeah.
Because she missed out on this huge sale from this house next door, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And get this. They worked with the security guard to get a plastic water bottle that she threw away somewhere to get her DNA.
Nice.
And it turns out it was not a match.
Oh.
Okay.
And this really stunned the Broadduses because they thought for sure that this strange family had something to do with this. But they were pretty annoyed about the whole thing because they insisted they weren't involved, and they said they had lived in the neighborhood for decades and decades. They'd never caused any problems. And so all of a sudden now there's this whole big deal.
Have we yet addressed the guy that they hired to install security cameras?
Ooh.
Not yet, but we will.
Okay.
So they started their own investigation. They kept going with the Broadduses, because obviously the police were unfortunately not getting anywhere. They spent an afternoon walking the block with a picture of the watcher's handwritten envelope. They're hoping that somebody would have maybe recognized the writing from a card, a Christmas card or something like that. The only thing that was worth noting about this was a man that lived behind 657 said that his son made a joke when this whole thing was going on and people were learning about it, that the watcher sounded a little bit like him.
Oh my God.
Let's see. A neighbor across the street was the CEO of Kroll, which was a security firm, and they hired that company to look for handwriting matches. They also hired a forensic linguist who like looked through a bunch of online forums, I guess, to see if they could match the language style.
Yeah.
So they're clearly doing a lot here. They even at one point considered hacking into the Wi-Fi networks in the neighborhood to see if they could find anything on people's computers, but they were warned that is illegal.
Yeah.
And not as easy as it is made to look in movies and such.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
The next lead they get is one night the detectives are outside of the house, like kind of parked a little bit away, but watching the house with binoculars, just waiting for something to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
They see a car pull up and like stop. And this made them suspicious. I don't know if they stopped. They slowed way down and like for long enough that the detectives were like, what's going on here? They traced the vehicle to a woman in a neighboring town, but her boyfriend lived on the same block as the house, the 657 Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman, after they reached out to her, said that her boyfriend was, quote, into really dark video games. And in one of these video games, his name on the game was, quote, The Watcher.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they did. This is how they did in the Netflix. They had that kid that was like doing the security.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're saying in the real situation, the kid whose gamer tag is the Watcher was not the security guy.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
That was fictionalized, as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Because I thought that was very heavily coincidental for someone's gamer tag to be the Watcher and then for him to start installing security cameras at the house, and that was too coincidental. But
okay, when you say heavily coincidental, you mean not really coincidental at all. It indicates something's fishy going on.
Like too coincidental. Yeah.
I get you.
Knowing that in the real story, he's a little bit more removed makes him less suspicious to me.
Really?
I guess.
Okay. So what the hell is the girlfriend doing? Maybe she's curious because she saw that her boyfriend went bumped by the Watcher on this video game, and then she heard about the Watcher. So she's like, what's going on with this? Let's see if, I don't know.
Wait, so the boyfriend lives on the same block?
Yes.
Now, maybe I'm changing my mind. Maybe this is suspicious, actually.
So the story... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking like, so the story, I just need to like make sure I'm getting the facts correct. The story is that the woman in the car is the girlfriend of this dude who lives on the same block as the Broadduses.
Correct.
And this dude that lives on the same block is a huge video gamer whose gamer tag is the Watcher in this one dark game. And one night, this chick, the girlfriend, stopped in front of their house, the Broaddus' house, for a long enough time for the detectives to be like, what is going on here? Like, correct. Was the boyfriend in the car with her? Or was she in there, or was she there alone?
That's a good question. I don't see anything that indicates that because it sounds like the investigators didn't approach the car at the time it was driving by. They just kind of thought it was suspicious, maybe got the license plate, looked into it, and then tracked her down. Okay. But I'll tell you something else that made me suspicious. The detective, I guess, made contact with the boyfriend who agreed to come in to be interviewed on 2 different occasions. Both times, no show.
What?
Yeah. But they didn't have enough evidence to like force him.
Yeah.
So they just dropped it and moved on. But I think that's, I don't know.
That's very suspicious.
You can make of it. I don't know. I
wonder if they checked his DNA or his girlfriend's DNA.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the DNA. I don't think they assumed like that could explain the DNA. I don't think they actually got her DNA, but they thought maybe the boyfriend was doing this and the girlfriend was like helping him.
Yeah, that seems pretty probable.
But I don't see anything about them obtaining her DNA or anything like that. Another thing we need to talk about is another rumor that was kind of swirling around. And that is that maybe the Broadduses did this to themselves.
What?
I had considered that idea.
But why?
So their theory is that they realized they couldn't afford the home. They were in way over their heads.
Oh.
So they came up with this crazy, elaborate con as a way of getting out of it. Because if you think about it, the first thing they did is they went to the previous owners and demanded to know what was going on. And the previous owners had received a letter. If you remember, they received one letter, but they had said that they thought it was more bizarre than creepy, and they just threw it out. And that was the only letter they had gotten in the 20 years they had lived there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they were thinking maybe they did this to themselves to get out of the sale, or they wanted to do like some sort of insurance fraud, or they wanted a movie deal. But the Broadduses did get offers for a movie deal, but they turned it down. Lifetime, gotta love them, released a movie anyway called The Watcher. And the Broadduses sent them a cease and desist letter, but they were able to get around that, I guess, because the movie, this is great. The couple in the movie was biracial, and the letters were signed The Raven.
Oh my
I guess they had changed just enough. But like, those are the two honesty. Oh yeah, and they were biracial.
Oh my God.
Some people thought it was suspicious that they had upgraded their home from a $300,000 house to a $300,000 to $770,000 to a $1.3 million.
Yes, I would buy that theory that they were trying to get out of this because they were in over their heads, except for the fact that they did come up with money to pay for the private investigator and that linguist to study the letters, and then the handwriting person. And then I feel like they put a lot of money into the investigation, which makes me think they were not well off.
Yeah.
It's a long, elaborate con, dude. If that is, that's a hell of a scheme.
Yeah, that, and it's like, I mean, okay, they have 2 young children, and they already had mentioned that they didn't want, like, they rejected all of these, like, media, whatever, because they didn't want their kids to have to deal with it. Right. So like, I guess, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like, okay, well, if they care that much about like their kids, then I don't really feel like they would have created something like that. Like, how would they have known that? And like, I don't really think that insurance covers like weird, creepy letters being sent to your house. I'm just saying.
Yeah, what box on the form is that?
Right, it's like, exactly. Like, can you imagine talking to like the rep over the phone? Like, Yeah, I've just been getting the letters.
Well, look, I know we're laughing because we're joking around, but for them, especially if they weren't making it up, they went through hell with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were suddenly like pariahs in the community.
Right.
Okay. Especially after these rumors started flying that maybe they did this. So Derek wanted to leave town. He wanted to get up out of there, but Maria didn't want to because she didn't want to like uproot the kids. Which, sorry kids, I make the decision. I'm getting the hell out of here if this is me.
Yeah, it's such a terrifying experience to be in.
Yeah.
So what they ended up doing, they borrowed some money from family members and they bought another house within Westfield.
Oh.
But they used an LLC so they could keep the location private, but they were still very stressed out being within the town. Like anytime their kids went out and things like that, they were extra worried. And, people at school, one of the kids that was in a class with one of the kids, a kid in one of the kids' class, the Broaddus kids, made a comment to the kid like, oh, yeah, well, my parents told me no matter what your parents say, this is a safe town or something like that.
That is rude.
Well, it's kids are. So I guess they had a lawsuit of some sort. I think, they had filed a lawsuit against the former owners, I guess.
What?
They thought that, I think that's what they did, if I'm reading this right. So I guess some states require people selling their homes to disclose, quote, transient social conditions, like murders or possible hauntings. And this article cites a 1991 case that involves a ghost-filled house, allegedly, which was in New York. And they literally ruled as a matter of law, the house is haunted. But no such regulation exists in New Jersey, so they dismissed the lawsuit. So they put the house back on the market. And they were hoping that it would succeed this time because now that the word was out about this, they had been reached like a ton of people apparently online or whatever. Although people could say whatever online. They were saying how, I would never let somebody scare me out of my own home. And like, I'm not going to let them win with these threatening notes. So they're like, well, maybe, somebody will snatch the house up.
Right.
So they're not getting any bites. So the next thing that they wanted to do, their real estate lawyer, the Broadduses, they wondered if they could tear down the house and split the property into two different homes, which I guess was kind of a common thing in Westfield. But in order to do that, the Westfield Planning Board would have to grant an exception because I guess every lot has to be like 70 feet. And if you split this house in two, they were each like it was 67.4 and 67.6 feet respectively. And so they would have to get the committee or whatever to approve or to grant the exception or whatever. And this is the really dry, boring stuff to me. People, freaked out and thought it would look ugly in the town. Everybody's had all sorts of opinions about it. They rejected the proposal because they didn't find that there would be like they said there was no guarantee that somebody else couldn't like just continue writing to like new owners, even if it was split into two.
Yeah, true.
But not long after they rejected this, they did get somebody who wanted to, or who was interested in renting 657 Boulevard. And they put in something in the lease that said if they were to receive a letter or something, they could back out if they wanted to, basically.
Oh.
So that was a bit of good news, right, for the Broadduses? Yeah. You ready for it to be shattered?
my God.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, another letter comes to the new people, the renters. And it says, violent winds and bitter cold to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
That's how it started. And then it said something along the lines of it was more threatening than a lot of the letters had been. So it started off kind of bizarre, and then it got to creepy. Then it got to like, okay, this is getting kind of threatening. But this one implied that something bad was going to happen to the Broadduses. It said maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away, but makes you fell sick day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break. So guess what? I'm not only leaving the city after that, I'm leaving the state. I'm leaving the country. I'm leaving the planet. Elon, come get me. That is awful.
Horrifying.
What the hell?
I don't blame Derek for hanging out in that house, staring out into the dark and wanting to beat the ass whoever did this.
No shit.
Yeah.
If he didn't write it himself.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
Hopefully this isn't a spoiler. Did they find anything in the basement, like any passageways?
No.
In the real story?
No.
Okay. So that was just a dramatization.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, check this out. This is what we need to talk about. We don't need to do a part 2. We're pretty much wrapping up with this.
Mm-hmm.
But can I read an excerpt? This was covered in the show. Joann, this may have been, I think this was after you stopped watching. I could be wrong. But let me read this paragraph from the cut that covered this, okay? And then you guys can react to it.
Okay.
The Watcher was no longer the only person sending anonymous letters in Westfield. Last Christmas Eve, several families received an envelope in their mailboxes. They'd been delivered by hand to the homes of people who had been the most vocal in criticizing the Broadduses online. One of them, who lived a few blocks down the boulevard, had written on Facebook, "I wish we could go back to the days of tar and feathers. I have just the couple in mind." Another family who got the letter told me, meaning the reporter, it was, quote, weirdly poetic, as the Watchers had been, and that it accused the families of speculating inaccurately about the Broadduses. It included several stories about recent acts of domestic terrorism in which signs of brewing mental illness had gone unnoticed. The typed letters were signed Friends of the Broaddus Family. The letter writer had clearly been infected not only with the Watcher's penchant for anonymous notes, but also a simmering resentment, one that had snaked its way through Westfield, making enemies of neighbors. The people who received the letters didn't know who sent them, but the tone had a familiar ring to me. When I asked Derek Broaddus whether he had written them, he paused for a moment, then admitted he had. He wasn't proud of it. He hadn't even told his wife. And he said they were the only anonymous letters he'd written. But he had felt driven to his wits' end, fed up with watching silently as people threw accusations at his family based on practically nothing. The Watcher had been obsessed with 657 Boulevard, and Derek in turn had become obsessed with the Watcher and everything the letters had set in motion. It's like cancer, he told me. We think about it every day. So to be clear, Derek is admitting to writing the anonymous letters to neighbors telling them to F off, not to the original Watcher letters.
Right.
So that is covered in the show. If you remember, there's a part where he tells his wife that he wrote one of them or whatever.
Yes. But honestly, I don't blame him. I don't know if blame is the right word, but I guess I just, looking at this situation, I would be driven mad by what's going on. And like, I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility to reach that point where you just get so angry that you do something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's
I don't think that incriminates him in writing the other letters, though.
Right. I completely agree with that. Because I think it's infuriating when you're going through something like this and everybody has not just their opinions, but then they accuse you of one thing or another when you're going through something really traumatic yourself, yourself and your family, and just affecting your family in that way. When all you wanted to do was just buy a nice house and just have some family time together. And it's all these people accusing them in one way or another of, whatever. And it's just who are you to even be saying something like that? You're not, and it's irritating because it's also it's also the people online who are well, if it were me, I wouldn't let anybody scare me away from my house. It's are you in the situation? You're not. You're not in the situation. So you literally cannot judge anybody for that. So it's, and I think all of that is what I would find really irritating and would piss me off.
Yeah.
You guys took the words out of my mouth. I think you summed it up perfectly. Honestly, I agree. I don't think the Broadduses did this. And I agree. I would also imagine some sort of anger would be justified.
Yeah.
And, you're not feeling supported. You're not feeling, so you're just trying to get people to see your point of view. And maybe it wasn't the best decision for him, but I certainly understand.
Yeah. I do too. It wasn't a good decision, but he wasn't in his right mind.
No. I mean, can you imagine being, I don't remember really how long we were living there for, but I mean, just every day, I don't think people understand the psychological abuse, that goes into that, from someone that you don't even know, you don't even have a face, all you have are these creepy ass letters that you get, from this person. It's it's not only scary, but it's also how can I protect my family, from something like that. And then it's you would think that living in a neighborhood like that, that you would get the support of your neighbors. But I mean, everybody is just out to get you, it seems like. And then your kids go to school, and then your kids get some from kids, from other kids because their parents are saying some other shit. It's just it's not okay.
Yeah, it's definitely not. But the show also didn't reveal who the watcher was because this is unsolved. They never identified who wrote these letters. I mean, they have their pool of weirdos and oddities and theories, but nobody has ever been identified. So
are they still working on the case?
I don't know. I wonder if maybe this show has reignited interest in it, because this happened in 2014.
Oh,
so I wonder if the show will introduce it to people that hadn't heard of it before. And who knows, with interest something could come from that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. So the Broadduses do not live at that location. They live at an undisclosed location, right?
I believe so. So this article that I got a lot of my information from, it's from 2018. So as of 2018, I believe, they were, I don't know what they've done since then. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't tell anyone.
Right.
Because I wouldn't. But Yeah. So this article's from 2018. I mean, a lot can happen in 4 years, but as far as I know,
they did decide to sell the rights to the story finally.
I guess
they made it.
They had to, right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked. Go ahead. You go.
And then so do they still own the house then? Or as of 2018?
This article mentions that they avoid the house, unless they have to go by. But let me just.
It kind of sounds like they were not able to sell it to someone else.
Yeah.
Because I think they would address that.
Okay, here's what Google says. They sold the property for $959,000 to a couple in 2019 who didn't seem fazed by the letters.
Really?
Westfield police told the Post in October 2021 that there have not been any threatening communications since the new owners took over the home.
What?
So I wonder if this person just had a hateful vendetta towards them. But then again, if that was the case, then why was this so focused on the house, like hyper focused, and not more so on the Broaddus's themselves?
Yeah.
And the Broaddus's haven't gotten any letters, I'm assuming.
Right.
Well,
since they moved out of the house.
I don't think so.
That's so weird. Unless the person just stopped doing it because they knew that they were going to get caught eventually. The bigger the story got.
I wouldn't want to live there, to be honest. I mean, these people didn't care, but even now that, especially now that this thing has come out, this series, can you imagine? People probably go by there just to get a glimpse of it.
Yeah. Like all the time.
You never know how crazy people are. You know what I'm saying? Maybe somebody tries to break in.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And what the hell is in the walls? Because I would want to know what's in the walls.
I know.
Before I move in. But I mean, I guess they didn't care. Maybe they just thought it was a bunch of bull.
Yeah, because then like a part of me is kind of like, did this person just make all this shit up in the letters?
Maybe.
Like just to like scare them.
Just for fun. Yeah, like a creative writing project or something.
Yeah. Maybe.
Someone does that in the show. Like, doesn't there a writer guy or something that he has people write letters to the houses they love or something?
Yes. Was that not part of the real story?
Not
that was in the show. He was a teacher, and one of his writing projects that he had the kids do was to write an ode to a house. They were supposed to go find a house that they liked and write an ode to it.
Yeah,
which I thought was a weird writing assignment.
Yeah,
I don't really understand the purpose of that.
I thought it was kind of cute.
I don't
know.
If you take if you take all the Watcher stuff out of it and you're just like looking at pretend like this whole thing, the backstory of isn't this creepy, threatening letter. It's, just find a house you like and like write to the owner and be like, I love the house. Or I guess they have to write to the house. You're not supposed to write to the
owner. You're supposed to write to the house and be like, hey, house.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful you are. I love your windows. Like, it's just odd.
It's a bit odd.
I don't get the purpose of this assignment from a teacher perspective. What are they supposed to be learning from this assignment?
Obviously to spy on people.
Go to a stranger's house.
Trespassing.
And then write a love letter to the physical house. I don't. Yeah. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So guys, that's the Watcher.
This is one of the weirder mysteries, I think, that you've done.
I do a lot of weird ones.
You do. This one is just so
unique,
off the wall, unexplainable, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't find it unexplainable.
It's a bit of a head scratcher.
It is. It's not like the darkest or like the craziest. It's just like the most confusing, maybe.
Like
I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I think
it's just like what motivation is behind this? I guess usually unexplained mysteries you can figure out some sort of motivation, but like what was the point of these letters? What was the motivation?
I don't agree. I think the motivation could easily just be one, somebody wanting to stir up a bunch of crap just for the sake of making a news story, just for attention, whether it was the attention on them or what they did, or they had it out for the family.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it seems like it, right? If the previous owners only received one letter, that was more bizarre than like creepy. And then the new owners from 2019, you said, haven't received any letters, and they're the ones who received all of these crazy letters, then, it could be that like, whoever's been doing this has just something against them. But then it's also like, like I guess, well, I don't know, because it's like, why? Like I just want to know why. Like, what is it about them like moving into that house like triggered you so much you have to write all of these creepy letters?
Yes.
Yeah, because if you remember the letter that was sent to the original owners before they moved out, the letter was like, "Thank you for taking care of the house," or something.
Yeah.
Something. And that the real anger and the wrath seemed to come out for the Broadduses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it?
But they were doing a lot of renovations.
Oh, yeah. Like, could that be the trigger? Like, for them to, like, just be so angry about that? Like, oh, I can't believe you're changing this house.
Because then the watcher needs to get a hobby.
Because really, it's just, like, why are you so attached to this house?
Yeah.
I think the watcher needs to take a step back and realize it's just a building. It's just some wood that you can live in. Like, it's okay.
But what about the walls?
Plot twist. It was that professor's, one of his students just fell in love with this house and just couldn't let it go.
I know you were cheating on me with that slutty duplex down the block. Always got your shutters open for the world, don't you? Lock it up. Yeah, they I guess they understood the assignment and took it to a new level.
Yep.
Thank you guys for being guests. And thank you all for listening to 1 minute and 43 seconds. Elaine, what are we?
A true unsolved mysteries podcast.
Bingo. Okay. You guys have a good evening.
I did it. You too.
Okay. Make sure, I know you're going to probably look out your windows tonight and see some really, really sexy houses. Try not to go over to them because trespassing is a law in all 50 states. Okay?
Okay.
One minute and 43 seconds is dedicated to my number one fan. Thanks, Dad. I love you and I miss you. This podcast has been approved by Skipper the Cat. Right, Skippy?